They'll do it live.
Okay, so, oh shit. 3, 2, 1. What's up? Welcome to Almost Grown Up, a podcast where two 20-year-old goofballs talk about all things weird and wonderful.
There's plenty of it, that's for sure.
Oh yeah,
What's,
especially nowadays.
What's weird?
What's weird? I'm being stuck at home.
Oh, I fucking hate it. I'm so sick of it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot of people have started podcasts. I think a couple of friends of mine, a couple
Yeah?
of friends of yours as well. It just seems to be the thing to do, and it's like a nice way to stay in touch with your friends and hopefully get something productive out of it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of how we're doing it. Like, we just sort of chatting like we would normally chat, which is a load of bollocks, but record it, and hopefully you will get something entertaining out of it. You know, it just kind of helps people pass the time a bit, innit? Give them something to do, I suppose.
Yeah. Have you had many of those Zoom chats or those group video calls so far?
Oh, dude, we do a few quizzes. I got a couple of mates who live in Australia, and yeah, some like really close mates. So it's really fun because he goes all in, like, you know, Jakob.
Yeah.
So he goes all in. He makes like PowerPoint presentations. So he shares his screen, and he goes in because he's a teacher as well, so he's probably used to doing all this sort of stuff. But he goes all in, like he does like poster rounds, like general knowledge, like music, where he prepares clips and then he sends voice notes to like a group WhatsApp chat. So we all have to listen to it like one by one and then write our answers down. So it's well good. Like, it's definitely one of the best ones I've done.
You need one of those friends in the group, and I can 100% say with 100% confidence that is not me.
No,
I think
or
out of
me,
the
to be
two of us,
honest.
that's probably you. Out of the two of us, if I had to pick one, it would definitely be you to do that. It's so much organization, and I hate that.
I quite like that, actually. I don't know. There's something satisfying about being in charge of stuff and knowing what's happening. But like going into overkill mode.
Daddy.
But
I'm never saying that ever again.
fuck's sake, and it's recorded,
It's the
so
one
you
time.
know it's saved.
Okay, I'll say it every time it's repeated.
Oh,
As in
no.
record. Oh, well, fuck it. whatever.
Fuck's sake.
Go on. So,
I don't know.
satisfying about being in control.
There's something satisfying about just having, I don't know, just knowing like what's going on in your life.
Is this like a Camille's way of saying, I love it when a plan comes together?
Basically, yeah. Like here I am, like Mr. Burns, like fucking, yes, excellent.
Do you know what? That's something I would never. One of the unpopular opinions, which I feel like should be a reoccurring round every week. We do like a 5-10 minute bit on unpopular opinions between the two of us.
Oh, I'm down.
How's this one? I don't like The Simpsons. Never have, never will.
See, growing up, I liked it. I can't really remember watching much of it, but I feel like it was just something we did in the house. And yeah, I suppose we did watch quite a bit of it. But then sort of, I think around the time that like Family Guy came out, Family Guy came out. I was at that time where I was a bit older, so my sense of humor changed. It wasn't so childish anymore. Well, I suppose Family Guy is pretty childish, but it's on that kind of adult humor level where it's, you know, it just takes a piss. Like it's kind of an in between of South Park and Simpsons.
I also never liked South Park.
No, I didn't get it. Don't get it. That I think that's the one cartoon. I suppose it's a cartoon that I was just like, I can't watch this.
I get it because what was clever about it was that it was done within 2 weeks of any current events, so it'd always be very topical. And I think that was the beauty of it. And because it was such a low budget production, it was everything that they would cover in each episode would be so relevant. So I don't know, let's like to contextualize it. Let's say Trump was elected, then 2 weeks later they'd have an episode that referenced that, or the weeks leading up to it they would reference the election, so they would have that. I mean, that's a pretty long stat, like a big lead time with an election, but
Sure.
that's just an example. So it'd be very current, which so I get the sort of how accessible it was, but I was just turned off by it because it was always, well, first of all, when it came out I was really young, so it was still when it was Paramount Comedy. That was the channel.
Oh yeah.
And, it would be on at like 10 or 11, and that would obviously, being a kid, be my bedtime. So
Yeah.
that's that gone. And my parents were like super strict. Like they didn't even like me watching like certain cartoons like Cow and Chicken, because mum was like, why is the cow's udders out? And I was like, they're not tits. Like, I mean, they are, but they're like cow tits. But
Yeah.
it's just so like South Park was like a hell no. Like they had puking, and my dad was always like, no, it's disgusting.
I
like,
could
all
see
kind of
that.
stuff.
Yeah. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, so I never really got into. I was always told it was like a taboo thing, which you'd imagine would probably make a kid want to watch it more. But I think it was just the shit animation that turned me off it.
Yeah, but some people like that because it focused more on the actual, again, like the topic side of things, where it wasn't so much about, oh yeah, look, it looks really cool. It's meant to kind of almost look shit.
Yeah, but the funny part of that is, right, so my parents are both so against it, probably without even knowing what it was about. But you know those they're like these sunscreen blinds that you put in your car so your car doesn't like turn to a greenhouse on hot days. They're like reflective shields.
Yeah.
So I actually remember this very vividly. Like back in primary school, my mum had a South Park one of those, like on the outside. It was Kenny. No, not Kenny. It was the fat one, Cartman.
Cartman,
and
yeah.
It was him saying like, "You will respect my authority." And it was just that. And I was like, why do you have that, but you hate the show? It was just
Good
such a random imagine like a friendly little Asian lady who teaches at the school, by the way, that I went to, just has that in her car, and I'm like,
She probably just didn't get it. She was like, oh, that looks funny. Let me buy that.
Yeah, mate, she still does that. Still does that.
Wait, she still has it? Is that what you said?
No. She still does that thing where she buys stuff that she doesn't look at it properly, and then when she looks at it, she brings it back home. We're like, that's a dirty joke. Like she did that with a calendar, and there was like I think it's like 2 peas in a pod, and like one of them was female, one of them was male, and the other one was like, oh, you popped my something or the other. I can't remember exactly, but it was like, Mom, why did you buy this?
Yeah, but your mum's like really innocent. She's like, yeah, it's just funny, and then she just doesn't get it.
Yeah, 100%.
And then when 100%. You explain it, it's like, oh, I shouldn't have bought that.
I think we actually did do that, and then I think I've never seen that calendar ever again. Found it.
She probably felt really like embarrassed, like, oh, what have I bought? No, they think I'm some fucking idiot.
Gotta love mums though.
Oh,
I think it's super super hard trying to imagine raising a kid now. I feel like I was, in the grand scheme of things, I was actually a pretty good kid. I don't think I did anything too bad.
I can't vouch for you because, I mean, we only met when we were like 15, 14. So I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that's when all the bad shit really starts. Like that's when you could...
I don't know, man. There are some proper shit kids out there, dude. Even growing up, like in the area that I did. I mean, it wasn't a particularly rough area, but it was a bit it had that connotation. And there were some absolute plebs, man. Like,
was
you know,
this on
you
the
get
estate.
No. This is before. This is in Brentford, but I guess there too. You know, you get your fair share of idiots. You know, those are like kind of like, oh yeah, I'm really cool. Like, look at me smoking. Like, bro, you're 9. What are you doing? Like, you're an idiot. And I find that more so now, like, because, you know, now everything's so everything's so extreme. Like, we've kind of taken things to a point where it's like, well, how much further can this go? So it's really hard to almost rebel, because it's already almost been done before. Whereas, you know, going to school and you're like 10, 11, and then to like be caught with a cigarette, that was like, oh, what? That was like a big deal, I think. It probably still is now, but it's so much more, I don't know, things can kind of just get glossed over a bit easier. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Fuck knows.
Yeah, I sort of see what you mean, but I think maybe it's also because and I'm about to say the thing, we're almost grown up, so our sort of view of that, there you go. We need a little sound bite. Yeah, I reckon our perception of what is taboo has changed because we've been like, okay, that was really bad for us then, but now it doesn't seem so bad. So I'm probably less connected to the youth of today because I don't have a younger sibling, whereas you do.
Yeah.
So I guess you can probably know the exact impact of what would happen if your little sister was caught with a cigarette or something. Besides your mum going ape shit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Eastern European family household. There'd be there's no what's the phrase? When you hit a child.
Oh, right. Domestic
idiot.
abuse.
Yeah, like child abuse just doesn't exist when that sort of shit happens. It's like, come here. No, Mum, allow it.
That's an interesting one. Were you ever hit as a kid?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
big old
same.
smack round the arse, man. Actually, it hurt. It hurt.
See, whenever I tell people that nowadays, this is the other thing though. It's just so much to talk about on this because, like, I'd like to think I don't think I'd hit my kid, but
No.
I was hit as a kid,
Mhm.
and so I don't see anything wrong with it. But I just personally wouldn't want to. I don't know. I'd feel weird because like
Yeah.
you're so much bigger and stronger than them.
Yeah.
And I get that it's meant to discipline them, and I sort of get it. And I can see this like having a massive like there's going to be a huge divide in people.
Yeah.
Because I've had this conversation with like past partners and stuff. They've asked me like were you hit as a kid? I was like yeah, and I don't like I wasn't abused. It was for a reason. I was being a dick, so hit him. Like if he's not under like you can't reason with someone who's not comprehending your argument. And so you've got to sort of enforce your way somehow. And granted, maybe some parents are able to do that. All power to you. But I don't see anything wrong with hitting a kid. I just personally wouldn't want to. But there is a line. This is where there's like the line, which it's such a grey area. There's no way to really say here's right and here's wrong. But again, that being said, I was hit as a kid and I've turned out fine. And I don't have a problem with my parents. Yeah. That's for a different podcast, right?
Yeah, but I guess
you know what I mean?
it
Like,
just comes
you were
down to
hit,
like
I was
parenting style, innit? Like people just are different.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Mm.
Sorry, this delay is fucking.
No,
us
that's
up.
right. Yeah, well, that's the beauty of a COVID podcast, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't see it being that bad because I feel like at some point they have to be showing where the authority is.
Yeah.
And it's again it's up for debate, and I can 100% see the other side of it, and so I wouldn't really engage in the debate too much because I get why people don't want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I got hit with like there'd obviously be the smack and the hand smack, but then there was like a wire hanger.
What?
And that like, oh man, that shit hurt because it's like a small surface area, so that pressure on that point.
It's basically a whip.
Yeah, which like a cane was a thing back in the day. Like in Victorian times, that was a thing. They used to do it in school.
Well, they used to like beat the shit out of your hand if you like spelt incorrectly.
Yeah, or if you're left-handed because they said that was the devil or something. Like that. Man, times are crazy, right?
Yeah,
like imagine that now. Like you're left-handed and everyone's like, "Nah, fuck that shit. Right with the other hand."
Yeah.
Like I can't though. Like I don't give a fuck. Do it.
No. Well, I'm just glad we've kind of progressed as a society in the right. Well,
some ways
predominantly
right.
The right way. Yeah, exactly. There's still a lot of bad things.
What's the first thing you would change? Or first thing that comes to mind, at least.
In the world?
Just like, your first qualm with society, what would that be? Just, off the cuff. Don't think about it too much.
Shit drivers. Yeah,
So
I'm
I'm
probably
trying to think.
I'm probably touching the heart with a lot of people, if that's even a phrase. There are a lot of bellends out there. Like, not even just the ones who are, I don't know, maybe I'm the bad driver and everyone's normal.
No, you're a good driver. I've been in the car with you.
But those people who just clearly aren't with it, and they're just like they're fucking driving around like, oh look at that, oh look, so and so's just open, look at this, doing 10 in like a 30. It's like, bro, come on, I want to go to where I want to go. He's in the way.
Just for all of our European listeners, that is miles per hour.
Yeah,
we are still on the imperial system,
but only
which
with
is
that.
Weird. Yeah, exactly. Everything else. No, I get it. So I'm trying to think of what that would filter down to. Get rid of shit drivers. So would that just be, general stupid people like incompetence, or just the fact that they think they're above the rules? That
no, I think
entitled?
I think the solution would just be like either make stricter like driving tests or lessons, or kind of just make people do like top up courses, like every 10 years, be like, right, because inevitably the rules do change a bit. Cars get smarter, they get different, and especially nowadays, fucking with autonomy kind of looming around the corner, who knows what's going to happen? It's just a different world, and I suppose it just kind of keeps people up to date with stuff, and especially like not to point any fingers, but like the older generation, they obviously struggle the most with with technology, because it's
I'm not going to mince my words or yours. They're shit.
Well, yeah.
They're some of the worst group of drivers I've ever seen on the road.
I don't know. Again, it varies though. It just depends on the person. I suppose it's how active that individual is with staying current and keeping up to date with stuff. But passing your driving test 40, 50 years ago, it's going to be a hell of a lot different than passing one now.
Yeah, it's true.
Cars are different. Like, there's a ton more people out there. There's different sort of, the way you drive, junctions and all this sort of stuff, and what's acceptable, and what was acceptable 40, 50 years ago probably isn't nowadays. I can't kind of verify that because I'm not 70, but I can kind of just guess.
Yeah. No more horse and carriage.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the car's only been around for like 100 years.
Oh, this is a history lesson I have no clue about. You definitely educate me on this. Wait, do you know about it? Just gonna be guessing.
I do watch quite a lot of car stuff, like car shows and that, but whether or not the information sticks in my head is another issue. No, but yeah, it's been 100 years, and yeah, it's always electric now, which is good.
Yeah. Speaking of information sticking in your head, I had to do a fucking Amazon exam thing today.
Yeah.
So it's like I've already bitched about it enough, so you probably know, but I'll say it for the sake of the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
At my job, they were like, "Oh, you got to finish this by." They said 1st of May, and I was like, "Does that mean end of the day on the 30th of April, or at the end of the 1st of May? Which one does it mean?" And also, during my work week, I haven't got fucking time because they projected. So the course is like 2 hours, and the exam you get 2.5. So that's 4.5 hours out of my working day, and they're expecting my my day job to be fine too. And I'm like, how the fuck did you manage to how? Luckily on Friday when I was gonna do it, for my Friday evening, which is not the way I want to spend my Friday, doing more work. They're like, oh, we extended it to Tuesday 5th or whatever it is. I was like, all right, cool. So I just did it today, and it's the longest thing ever. And the thing is, the test, right? It's multiple choice, and this is one of my sort of gripes with just the educational system in general, is they were worded so convoluted that it was sort of like using a double negative in a true or false with conditional statements too. And I was like, I'm spending more time figuring out what you're asking me. So that's a test of my comprehension of the English language rather than the information that I'm meant to have just learned and then retained.
Yeah.
And also that I don't think that's a true depiction of, because if you ask me that stuff, the same questions now, I don't think I get it right. Like an exam is literally a test of your memory.
Yeah. Even in school, bro, that's how I always felt.
That's what I mean. Like, it's just the educational system. Is that a correct way to test people because it's just you on that day? And I get, you should be used to being put under pressure and seeing how you perform. And I guess that is sort of what makes successful people. But I don't think it should be pushed as the be-all, end-all measurement of your intelligence.
Totally. Yeah, because tests... I feel like... sorry, just to interject. I always found coursework a lot more useful than, say, assignments than tests. Because, kind of... I don't know. It's that whole memory thing, you kind of you cram all this information in your head just to write it down in this 1 hour space of time that you have, and in the hopes that you get everything right, and then you just forget about it. Whereas when you do coursework, putting, you're learning as you go along as well. You go, oh, I can do this. Oh, this is cool, and you can add to it, and then you research more, and then it's more real world, practical sort of solutions and a way to approach stuff. You wouldn't say if you want to learn about something, in the real world, you wouldn't just go on Google and try and read as much as you can and then go, right, I'm going to test myself now, see how much I've remembered. It's like, no, you just keep reading and you keep learning.
That's quite a good point, actually, because people learn in different ways. Like, you've got those
exactly.
Like, I think you're pretty good at practical learning. Like, I think you need to do it, having just, grown up with you.
Yeah.
For the last, 11, 12 years,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I think I'm somewhat the same, but I can also watch it a few times and I'm fine. Whereas reading just doesn't work for me. So both of my sisters, I'm the youngest of three, both of them, I've grown up watching them revise for exams, whatever it is. And the way that they do it is just read through, rewrite the notes, rewrite your notes, and eventually through that repetition you kind of get it. And I see the logic behind it, but for me, it got to a point where I was like, I'm literally just making shapes on a page. I could be thinking about pigs right now and writing about science. It doesn't make any sense. For me, it was more just sort of read it once and just live with it for a bit, and just whatever will stick. And I kind of have like triggers for like remembering stuff,
Yeah.
But the whole note writing thing never made sense to me, ever.
No, me neither.
But weirdly enough, that's actually how I was forced to revise, because that's what I saw growing up and that's what my parents made me do. Just wonder how much talent we lose in the world just because people aren't they're made to do the wrong thing for their brain because they don't understand that.
I also think like one of the main problems is, all sort of tests aside, is kind of finding ways of getting kids excited about subjects. And, obviously that comes down to the teacher and it comes down to the subject itself and the individual. But it's like there needs to be more effort put in, like during school time, to find out what each student really likes. And then, if say somebody like goes, oh, I don't really know, and then they go, oh, I quite like maths, and then things just kind of stick in their heads, or like say for instance maths, revision to them wouldn't seem like this boring thing of like, oh, I've got to rewrite stuff over and over again to get it in my head. Like, they'd want to do that. Whereas we're kind of made to do all these different subjects, which is completely justifiable. You should know a bit of everything, and I suppose through that you can kind of find what you do like, but it's kind of just like we're just being made to be good at all of them, to the same like level of standard. And it's like, well, I get that,
I kind of see it for the beginning part of your education there, because I think you got to have that foundational knowledge across the board. I mean, I guess to a point, I guess that only really counts for like maths, English, science, just because you need to know how to read and write and do basic arithmetic to work out how to tell the time and stuff. But I think when it gets to like geography and stuff, like I don't know, maybe, and like even history, I'm kind of shitting on the humanities right now, but I like hate history. Oh man, I hate it. I used to hate that lesson so much in school. But I can see why they want you to do, cast your net far and wide when you're young. And I see your point too about, making it interesting and finding out what they enjoy. But the other thing is sometimes kids enjoy the thing that's the easiest, and that's not necessarily what's going to get them anywhere in life.
Yeah.
And that kind of is a nice sort of segue, I suppose, into the generation of today. It's very easy to take the path of least resistance, which is, it's natural. But people don't like to do the hard work. Like putting yourself through something that you don't want to do because it's going to better you afterwards is sort of like a learned experience. It's a learned thing. You have to teach yourself to get comfortable feeling like shit, but because it's going to be good for you afterwards. But that's not something that kids know,
It's putting yourself in that mindset of, it's very easy to see, say, a project or a subject and go, oh, fuck, this is huge. But, breaking it down and but you just, it's really important to break it down into smaller chunks. And that's something I'm trying to do myself, because I am a bona fide perfectionist and I hate it, because it almost, it's kind of like with this podcast, we wanted to do it for so long and I was like, oh man, but we could do this. Oh yeah, we could do this. Let's try it. Oh, that wasn't good enough. Let's try another episode recording or whatever. And it's like, fuck it, man. You just got to get stuff out there. And then through doing it, you'll learn what you like and you learn what sounds good and what works for you. Which is, easier said than done, but it's just getting over your own, psychology really, and just kind of teaching yourself to just go, right, fuck it, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Let's just do it and see what happens.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, kids are weird these days. It's hard to understand them. And recently I've actually started feeling a little bit old. I know we have this conversation quite a lot about.
Yeah.
We are only 26.
Yeah.
Both of us, you're a couple of months older than me. But I feel like the way we talk about life is like we've already lived a life before.
Yeah, I've also had a ton of mates tell me that as well. Like, oh, you're so like responsible and like.
You're definitely more responsible than me.
Yeah, but to a certain degree. But we both like the way we think about stuff, and I don't know whether it's a generational thing or it's just
Us.
Or us, yeah, our weirdly wide brains. But yeah, we definitely kind of act older than our age suggests. Like mentally, we kind of think about almost like the bigger picture
Tits.
a bit more. Wow, I suppose how big that picture is. But you know what I mean? Like, we kind of just think about, the broader term. Oh, you put me off there. Fucking.
Sometimes you just.
I lost my train of thought.
The tits are always there. Always there to distract. The weapons of mass distraction.
That was good. I like that.
Yeah, I actually saw that on a billboard once. Like, that is some fucking good advertising. Like, I remember that from when I was like 6 or 7 years old. No.
Wait.
When was
What
the
was it
Iraq
advertising?
War? Yeah. It was on a bus stop. When was
what was it
Iraq War?
advertising?
Like 2004, 5. So yeah, 15 years. That advert stuck in my head. It was literally a pair of breasts in a bikini, and it said "weapons of mass distraction." I can't remember what it was for. I just remember tits in a bikini and weapons of mass distraction.
6 years old, going, what am I feeling?
No, I wasn't 6. I wasn't. I wasn't 6. I was 11, 10 or 11.
Oh, okay.
And I definitely knew what I was feeling. I was an early bloomer.
So you were just going for it on the bus, like straight away. Like,
I was
it's time.
I wasn't. Bus Mike got a whole new term.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly.
No, I wasn't going for it. I was also not on the bus. I was in the car with my family. Just to clarify, I was not masturbating.
That'd be weird.
But this is what I love about this podcast, is that we could go talking about, such serious shit about the educational system and our qualms with it, to, wanking on a bus as a 10-year-old.
Yeah, or within the space of, 20 minutes.
It's just because it's how quickly I can derail a conversation. I feel like it's like a skill of mine.
This is one thing everybody will probably find, is that you talk really fucking quick. To be fair, I talk quite quick and I mumble over my words quite a bit. I'm trying to get better, and you just like, we're talking about one thing, and I'm getting into it. And he goes, "Oh yeah, speaking of which, hang on, motherfucker, just wait, let me finish my point. Let's talk about this first." Even in like normal conversation where we're not like recording a fucking podcast or
That's
whatever.
half the fun.
Oh my god, yeah, but then 3 hours later, you go, "We've not talked about anything," and then you're just going around and around the same fucking thing again.
Well, we'll get the listeners. They can have a little go at me too. I'm open for criticism. Bring it on, bitches. But
yeah,
no, that's basically the power of advertising right there. I guess we probably should introduce what we do, if this is the first podcast.
What do you do? What's your name?
So I work at we go for what's your name? All right, cool.
Yeah, what's your
My name's
name?
Azim. What's your name, girl?
What's your number?
Can I have your number?
Can I?
Please.
I
don't
just
even know
remember
what that's from.
Brilliant. Oh, it was like
you doing
Mad
impression.
TV. Was it Mad TV?
I don't know. I don't know why I said that twice
Or
either.
Spike TV, one of those American things where they just do like stupid skits. That was funny. Yeah.
Right, so I guess the introduction comes at what, almost
Go on, Tinder
half
profile.
hour
Go
in.
on, give us your best.
Come here, you sexy bitch.
How many is it left or right? How many
Oh, don't act like you don't know.
God, I don't know.
Don't try and fucking virtue signal.
left? Is that the right?
I'm I respect women, so I just
Oh,
don't use
fuck
Tinder.
off. No, I've had a girlfriend for like 2.5 years. I ain't been on that shit.
Right, fine.
And I've never got
Alright,
it.
fine. It's a good time. Right, so let's scrap the Tinder profile bit. My name's Azim. I work in media. I'm 26 years old, and I'm doing a podcast. My best friend,
And he's a bell
who
end.
is okay. That not my words, but okay. That was your cue to introduce yourself.
Yeah, what's up? My name's Camille. I am also 26, also an idiot, and also recording this podcast.
You never said what you did.
Oh.
That's the most interesting
Oh,
part.
I hit things for a living.
Yeah, he's not a
Keep
fighter.
guessing. Yeah. No, I of musical sorts.
He plays a xylophone.
Is that well? It counts. Yeah, it's percussion. No, I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
I hit drums.
I'm
for
a
a
drummer. I'm a drummer.
I'm a drummer. I'm a drummer.
What was the So yeah, because you're self-employed technically, right?
No,
So, well, I
yeah,
say
yeah,
technically,
fully.
Obviously, yeah. So yeah, talk me through how COVID's hit, because I know a couple of self-employed people who've taken pretty big hits who are musicians. Well, they're not musicians, but they work in the music industry as producers and whatnot. So
yeah.
give us a bit of background, man. How's it been?
Yes, I mean, when it all sort of kicked off, I suppose it was a bit of a shock in it because you kind of go, oh no, and then you hear of mates losing gigs. You know, some lose tours, so they lose like a big chunk of their like annual income, which always sucks. And so it always sucks hearing about things like that about your mate. But then I wasn't hit with any bad news until sort of like right at the end. I was like, oh, I'm fine, and then I was like, okay, I'm kind of one of the lucky ones. And then when the whole lockdown thing happened, it was like, oh shit. I was like, yeah, this is cancelled. Yeah, okay, we're going to try and move this around there. We're going to put this there. I was like, okay, cool. And a lot of the teaching that I had, like both private and all the little schools that I teach at during the week, they obviously closed. But I was quite fortunate because, I was already teaching and I have been for like 4 or 5 years. So I was able to keep, 85% of my students on like, Zoom and Skype lessons. So that's been quite cool. And it's actually been kind of beneficial because I don't have to drive anywhere. I don't have to drive 30, 40 minutes to go and teach them in a school. I can just do it from home, which has been really, really good.
Has it been like just a quick question in that, just off the cuff, has it been easier to get them to listen to what you want them to do because it's like they kind of have to because they're forced to because through a screen?
Well,
is that a
do
thing?
you know what? I find that they're more into it now. I think because they're like,
Yeah.
like they have no other stimuli
They go
apart
out
from
their
playing
minds,
video
man.
games or whatever. And then there's only so
Yeah.
much you can take before your mind just starts to deplete. So they're like, oh yeah. And then when they're in the lesson, they really get into it. And like, oh yeah, it's really cool. And like they actually practice. I'm like, this is really weird. Like, okay, that's really good. Keep it up, and hopefully this mentality continues when we do go back to normal. But I'd kind of.
I don't reckon it will.
Yeah, maybe not. I'd prefer teaching from home though. It's so good. Got my little drum kit set up. You got your phone on Skype and all that. It's all good. And it gives.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
I actually need some more exercises to do. So, side note: once we finish this podcast, give me some more exercises.
Oh yeah. I'll hit you up, man, for sure. Yeah. So like I was again like sort of one of the lucky ones who already was teaching. So I can still work. Limited, but I can still.
Still
Whereas
an
a bunch of my
income,
mates, a lot of my mates, who are amazing musicians. That's all they did. They played shows, or did recording sessions, and then that just completely went. Which was like, oh shit, I've got nothing. And then you get this huge oversaturation in the market where now everyone's trying to teach on Skype, and then they're posting this and trying to market themselves and do this and do that. And then it's like, I would hate to be in that situation where you're fighting with everyone else, and you don't have any regular students who you can just be like, oh yeah, so you want to just do the Skype thing? Like, yeah, okay, cool, no worries. Because trying to find students it can be tough, man. But
yeah,
yeah.
I think it's a fear that I'll never really understand, just because I've got the steady thing month on month. I know what's coming in.
Yeah,
but yeah, so I thought it'd be nice to get your opinion on it. And I guess we should, going forwards. I don't know when this is going to end, but maybe even on the phone, we should probably get some of your mates or some, someone from the music industry.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Other than yourself, of course. Not saying that you're not, but you're in this sense, you're the host of one of the hosts of this podcast.
Yeah.
But we should get them on to just talk through their experience. It'd just be nice, new perspective on things rather than just us two idiots and get a new. Idiot,
I always find it
new
quite
perspective.
nice, sort of, when you scroll through Facebook or Instagram, seeing how clever people can be with their time and also how creative they can get.
Yeah, very true.
And it might be quite cool to talk about that sort of stuff. Maybe even get some people who,
some content creators.
yeah, but like get some people on the show who have been doing that sort of stuff. That'd be quite cool to talk about. But yeah, man, it's it's like these sort of times bring out the best in people. I find, you get your anomalies, but when shit really does hit the fan, you really see how people kind of work together and help each other out. And I'm seeing so many when it's all kicked off and everybody was like, oh, I'm teaching Skype, and I was one of them, trying to get more students, posting on Instagram and all that sort of stuff. So many mates would just share it and be like, yeah, I got you, and then everybody, it's like it strengthened the community. I can only speak for musicians, but I can only
your circle.
I can only imagine it's been the same for business owners and and other professionals who do that as well. So it's been quite nice to see.
So speaking of business owners, where my old agency used to be, like media high street, basically like near Tottenham Court Road, there's a place called Bradley's Spanish Bar, and obviously like the rent down there must be fucking killer.
Man,
There's this tiny little bar, and this guy that used to work with me, it was one of his favorite places ever. So I was following him on Instagram, and he shared this story on his page, and it was like how that Bradley Spanish Bar was basically gonna have to shut down because they couldn't pay the rent, because obviously they have no customers, bars are shut, whatever. So then there was like a GoFundMe page, and they literally absolutely like pissed through the target, like piss easy, gone. It was like 35K. I think they got I don't know, like shit tons.
Jesus.
Like by the time I saw it, it was only like 13 hours into him having posted it, and it had already smashed the target. And I was like, geez, like it's quite nice to see, just that sort of small community thing come through, because you kind of don't really feel it that much when you're in London. London's not like it dissipates a little bit because it's like a mishmash of everyone's kind of passing through. You have big rich owners that own a load of buildings, and they're just after profit. So the whole community thing doesn't really happen. So especially with like they'll own a building and then renovate it, and then the apartments will be worth a lot, and so it'll just be people who sublet it out, or they'll only have it as like a monthly passing, like one of their places that they go to.
Yeah.
So the sense of community in that building or those apartments or that sort of area will never really exist because no one knows each other or is there long term enough. So seeing that come through and seeing them save a small business is such a nice thing to see.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't entirely involved in it, it's just nice to watch, like you said.
It's like things like this is such a clear indicator of it's that phrase you only, what is that phrase? You don't. I had it in my head and it's fucking gone.
Conviction of like, it's like that phrase. What's that phrase?
You don't know what you had till it's gone, or till
nice.
till the fear of it potentially being gone. People then go, oh man, actually, like that bar. It's like, oh, I actually did like going to that place, and it would be a really shame. It'd be a really big shame if it closed, and then probably a lot of those people who are funding it and trying to raise money were some of the regular customers going, oh yeah, let's keep this place alive. And then again, it just strengthens that community, And then when it does eventually reopen, it would, probably just go there more often. Yeah, exactly, man. Things like that.
This is going to be a slightly darker view on that, and not necessarily dark, but maybe just me playing devil's advocate. But I wonder how many of those people who donated to that cause to save that bar are now out of a job, struggling, and kind of regret doing it.
I don't
just because I don't know how much they would have donated, but it's just a point we're thinking about. I wonder if any of them regret it because now they've fallen upon hard times because no one expected this. No one.
I don't know. See, I remember. I think it was one of the sort of books that I was kind of listening to, like audiobooks. Apparently, it's very common for those who have more, so those who have a lot of money, can be less charitable. More,
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
not more greedy, but just less kind of willing to give back, right? Obviously, you know, you have exceptions like, you know, guys like, you know, Bill Gates or Cristiano Ronaldo, who are like, you know, philanthropists, where they, you know, they actually give a lot of their money, you know, to charity.
Yeah.
And then the other side of that is those who have the least or not that much are very willing to kind of, you know, share the love and kind of help those who are in similar positions as them, because they, I suppose they understand what it's like and they know how tough it is. So, you know, if you can all kind of fight it together and kind of come up as a unit, it kind of makes it a bit easier, you know. Do you kind of get what I'm trying to say? I'm just sort of mumbling all of my words, but
Yeah, no, I get. I
all
see
this
what you're saying.
caffeine.
How many coffees have you had today?
Just 2, but I've not really eaten that much, and you know, it kind of just hits you. Like my leg is just do 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 do. I can feel it just shaking.
Nah. I remember
Jackass.
when we went to when we went to see was it Ken Block?
Oh yeah,
what
Jim
was,
Connor.
where
Jim
did we
Connor.
go?
Oh, it was Santa Pod Raceway.
That's the one, Santa
That
Pod. I
was
keep thinking
awesome.
Sandown, but that's not the right. That's not
No.
the right one. But it was, obviously he's a monster athlete, and they had all these different types of, you know, limited edition monsters, monster girls walking around, which was, you know, fucking awesome. And then obviously you didn't have to pay for the monster cans. Sorry, I just started laughing at the word cans. So, just I said monster girls, and I was like, no, there goes
There we go.
my thought process.
Yep.
Derailed once again. No, so you didn't have to pay for these. You just walked up and you tried all these limited edition flavors. And I was like, yeah, this is great. Obviously, forgetting that there's a fuck ton of caffeine and sugar in them. So I didn't eat very much that day. And that's when I first realized the caffeine headache. And it's such a unique, like, I don't have migraines, and I'm kind of thankful I don't, because if they're anything like what that caffeine headache was, I would fucking kill myself. I kind of like lack a bit of empathy in that sense, where when I've seen people get migraines, I'm sort of like how bad could it be, you know? 'Cause
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
never had
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I can't even imagine it. And then I can see them like struggling to look at a screen. I'm like, well, obviously stop doing that. Like that's not going to help you. But then they're like, it's people at work basically, because, you know, stare at a screen for pretty much the whole day.
Yeah.
But then they're stressing out. But that caffeine headache, if it's anything like that, I feel for you, because that I can get on board with, you know?
No,
I know what that
I've
feels
not
like.
got the headache. But yeah, I
Just
know
the
what
jitters.
that feeling is. Just the jitters, yeah. But I don't really get it. It's just, you know, when you don't really eat that much food. And I do love coffee. But yeah, you don't want to drink too much of that shit because it'll fuck you up. And then it kind of almost has the adverse effect when you have too many. You just get more tired, which is
You get the shits, man.
counterintuitive. Yeah, exactly.
That reminds me of a shitty situation I was in. I've been trying to run a 5K in sub 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And I've not really been going for a run as often as I could. So I only went for 2 runs this week. Usually I try and do like at least 3 or 4, like a 5K in the morning or something. So I haven't gone, and I didn't go until like, I think it was Wednesday this week. It's Sunday now. Because every time I woke up, and I like to do it early in the morning, like, you know, wake up, get it out the way, done, and carry on with the day. Every time I woke up, I just had really bad like gas. So I was like, I can't go like this. Like, I'm gonna be like running and, you know, kind of like just ripping farts. Yeah, exactly. Like in the rhythm of my steps, and that's not cool, because I know the streets are pretty empty because no one's out there at that time, and, you know, it's locked down. But still, what if I, you know, followed through? So I didn't go. It gets to Wednesday, and I'm like, I've got to just suck it up and do it. Come on, let's go. So I, sat there for like 10 minutes in the toilet. And they even say this, like on like running YouTube channels, they recommend it. They're like, 5 things you should do. One of them is always take a shit before you go, like before go for a run. So I'm like, cool, I've adhered to that. I sat there kind of getting really graphic, but, you know, let out a few toots and nothing came out. So I was like, fuck it, let's go. So I'm like running. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm actually feeling all right. I get to about 2.5 kilometers, so about halfway, and I'm like, I can feel it coming, but no, I'm going to power on through. I'm gonna do it. So I'm also just literally like running laps around the park. So I'm like, I'm going to go through with it. Let's not through with that, but I'm going to power through.
Yeah.
Phrasing is really important when I tell this story. So I'm running, and I'm like, I can really feel it building up now. And I'm like, now I'm having like actively clench, like, you know, like your I don't know what you call it. It's like your pelvic floor, like your dick muscles, you know, the ones you use to hold everything in. Like when you're about to bust and you're like, nah, I gotta look good for this girl. Nah, can't be a one
Dick
bump jump.
muscles. Brilliant.
Everything's clenched.
Yeah.
And it gets about 3.5, and I'm like, I think I can just make another 1.5. And then I looked at my splits when I got back, and that third kilometer, well, fourth technically, slowed down so much in those 300 meters, because from 3.5 to 3.8 was when I just tapped out. I was like, no, got my Strava app out. Shout out to the sponsor, thank you. They don't sponsor us, but please do.
No.
I stopped it, and I was like in the middle of the park, like literally like the furthest away from the exit I could be, and I was like, just stopped. This dog walkers around just looking at me like, what happened? Like, you're on your run. And I was like, I'm just gonna turn around. Like, there's no way to start this out. I was clenched and kind of like clench waddled all the way to the exit of the park. Got there and I was like
a penguin.
This is gonna take longer. Yeah, like this is gonna take longer to walk back home like this. So I was like, I'm gonna have to run. Like, but now it wasn't a jog where it looks like I'm going for my morning run. It was like a frantic sprint back home. I was clenching my ass. Yeah. And there was like a couple that like kind of walked out in front of me as I was going full pelt. They must have seen this brown guy just go pinging past them, and I'm like, I don't even care what I look like right now. Got to the door, and farm, like nothing. Thankfully, to end the story on a high note, nothing happened. Everything was clean.
Good.
Well, within reason. Everything was clean where it was meant to be clean.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the things I cannot stand. Like the caffeine shit kind of conversation made me think of this. The shits on the run, it's a legitimate thing. And one of the clients that I have, one of the brands that I work on is sort of like what's the opposite of a laxative? Anti-laxative.
No, there's a word.
It clogs you. No, it doesn't.
Everyone's
it doesn't
probably
clog you.
screaming at their fucking computers.
Stop talking about shit. Oh, you mean the name of the thing? Yeah, they're probably screaming that.
No, yeah.
That's what I'd said.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so they actually have on some of the audience insights, they're like, yeah, runners are some of our target audience, and cyclists, because they just explode when they get in. Wait, that reminds me, didn't you actually work at a pub and used to say this cyclist came in and you should just destroy the toilets?
Wait, say that again?
I feel like it was you. You told me the story once of this cyclist, because you used to work at a pub, right?
Yeah.
And you said there's this one cyclist who used to come in and just destroy the toilets. Didn't even buy a drink. He must have just been on the way on his route.
I'm struggling to remember, but I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't think I ever witnessed it.
And then no one used to want to go and clean it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever heard of it.
You just heard him
through the no. It's like through the grapevine. People told me like this motherfucker keeps coming in every morning and just destroying these toilets.
That's, I mean, any sort of like intense cardio, that shit will get your metabolism going, and like it's bad shit.
Well, yeah, quite literally.
Yeah. Sorry, I went off on a full like rant about shit just then, but it's a big part of my life.
Well, hey, should we leave it with the shit? Should we leave it on the low? So to speak.
I think we should.
Yeah, it's been 50 minutes. We've done good.
What a great way to have a first podcast end.
Hey, talking about shit. Oh, quite literally. That's what we're. See,
it's just like two guys talking shit.
See, there it is. There's the USP. Oh, Jesus.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Yes, thank you for listening. Oh, we are on the socials. Instagram, what is it? almost.grownup. If you feel like following us. Yeah, we'll be
give us a follow, check us out, we'll link them.
We'll be a bit more regular, I suppose, with the posting of content. But yeah, hopefully we get a bit better at this. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.
Let us know what you think.
Ciao.
Take care.
Peace.